Hi there, everyone. My name is Raj Singh Arora, and on the very first thing, you don't need to like or subscribe to this video or to my channel because I'm really not a YouTube or video creator. I'm just going to make a video on cameras, and which the main reason I'm making this actually is I'm going to try to do this in Hindi and English a little bit so that it kind of caters to audiences in India and abroad. So forgive me if I go into a Hindi a little bit. But basically, I have spent, let me just tell you about myself. I'm an actor and I'm also a photographer who's been shooting street, travel, and candid for the last 14 years now. And in these last 14 years, YouTube and all the content creators on YouTube have been an extremely big help to me in my photography, be it gear, which I'll get into, be it photography, be it about photographers. So I'm very grateful to all of them. And the reason I'm making this video is in a small way to give back in whatever way that I can for anybody who's out to kind of maybe play with different cameras, is confused, and I'll get into this. But as I said, I'm not a video content creator, so this is going to be a one shot. There might be some mistakes. I really don't have the patience to sit and edit videos. I do have the patience to edit photographs, which I do, but video is not my thing. So I'm just going to get into this straight shot. And before I do, one thing I've noticed over a period of time, and this is not always the case, but a lot of gear creators about cameras and a lot of people who talk about photography on YouTube or on the web are generally pretty average photographers. And I'm not trying to say I'm great. So before you get into this video, as I said, I'm not a video content, but I think I have my Instagram link to this page somewhere, so you can look at my work first. I shoot a lot with the iPhone, the Nikon. I've recently purchased a Fuji X100F. I've also played with some film photography in the last 1 year. I'll get into all this. So you can have a look at the work and then come back and see whether you really want to see this video. The only reason I'm making this video is to give back. कई लोग ऐसे होंगे जो अभी फोटोग्राफी शुरू कर रहे होंगे, जिनको कैमरास के बारे में जानना होगा. I think I'll just keep this in English and let's get into this. So, what do we have here on the table with me? This is my very first camera, the Nikon D3000. It's got a little problem now, the aperture shutter is shut, but this is a DSLR. So you have Nikon and Canon. I personally am a hardcore Nikon fanboy. Canons, I guess, are good cameras. I've used them, but compared to a Nikon, they're shit. And if you're a new beginner, I would recommend go for a Nikon, because the Nikon has a question mark button. And that question mark button, when you're a new photographer, helps you to constantly navigate into the menus, and it explains to you what is happening. What does this particular menu item, or if you're stuck in your basic exposure or whatever, a Nikon has that. And a Nikon is a sworn camera by some of the greatest photographers of the world, apart from Leica, from my heroes, Cartier-Bresson, which is a very expensive camera. But this was my first camera, Nikon D3000, which when I had just started photography back in 2007-8, my father gifted this to my sister and I instantly stole it, and it's been the greatest camera that I've owned. I used to use it with a 18-200 lens a lot, also a 50, that's a prime lens, of 50. I'll explain these if you want to, or maybe if this video makes any sense, you can write to me in the comment sections and say, make another video, and I'll probably try. But I used to love this camera. Why? Which I didn't understand for a long time. This is the last camera that Nikon made which had a CCD sensor. I think it's called a charge coupled device sensor. This Nikon, my D7000, has a CMOS sensor. Now, it doesn't make a great difference, but what I realized is that the CCD sensor gives you very good colors in red, yellow. It gives a very filmic quality. And the last people who had CCD sensors in their cameras till around 2 years ago were Leica. They did not change to CMOS. But this was my first camera. This is a DSLR, and a DSLR basically it's like an interchangeable lens. So this is a kit lens. जब आप camera खरीदते हैं, when you buy a camera, you will get a 18 to 55 with it. You can buy a prime lens 50, which is a good beginner if you want to start with. I personally am a big fan of, I used to have an 18 to 200 which is in my bag, but which got some moisture in the Bombay thing and kind of never recovered. I currently own an 18 to 300. This has been my primary travel camera for years, both of them. So I started photography in the real sense when I'd gone to the UK. This was there with my 18 to 200 lens. Let me just get it out actually, so that it becomes easier. Yeah, there it is. So I'm sorry, as I said, I'm new to this and I really hope the sound is also getting recorded. So that was my initial setup, and as you get experienced, and this essentially is about gear. So a lot of people get confused about gear, and I will end this video with trying to help you choose in what you want. And I have a feeling this is going to become a really long video with the way I'm going on, but I'll try to keep it concise and short and to the point. So if you're looking to invest in a DSLR, I would strongly recommend a Nikon. Start with whatever the kit lens is given, learn with it. This is a D3000, they'll have a D3500 or a 3600 in the market right now. I don't know what the number is. If you want Canon, go for it, but I would strongly recommend a Nikon because of their question mark button that they have. That is of great help, and Nikons are generally pretty more reliable and will last you far longer than Canons. So 50 lens, 18, this was my 200, and since this packed up a little bit around a year ago after 10 years of good use, the D7000, which is again a very old model with the 18 to 300, it becomes a little heavier to carry around most of the time, but when you're traveling, the range it gives you of taking a shot from 18, wide, you could go 16-10, but 18, I'm going wide, and I can go 300 full. So I took a shot in Boston. I was traveling in Boston. I think it's there on my Instagram also, of this couple who are going in for a kiss, and they were like a mile away from me, But this baby, the 18 to 300, just got it right. And that couple kissed, and I got the shot, and that's the day I realized the importance of the 300, the extra 100 that I was carrying compared to this one made sense here. So this was it. This is the Nikon. As I said, I'm trying to kind of keep it short and not fit in too much here. And before I move on, I need to make it very clear to all of you. I'm a street photographer, a travel photographer, landscapes. If you're here for wedding photography or fashion photography, then this is not a video for you. That is a different field. That is a different kind of photography that you need to do in life, and it involves lights and studio. So maybe you'll find plenty of other videos on YouTube. This is essentially for travel, street, maybe landscape to an extent, and yeah, basically anybody looking to invest in a new camera. Now, okay. This is the iPhone, and to me, before I come to the others, this is the greatest camera ever made. You will see a plethora of videos of people selling you all kinds of gear, latest technology, this, that. Let me tell you one thing. Nothing gives you better exposure, the ability to take a shot, be it day or night, with what you see with your eye and what the camera captures. Nothing does it better than an iPhone. Unless you're, again, as I said, doing fashion or you're doing wedding, and in that case you need to have a DSLR on you, okay, because the megapixel, the depth, the ability, all the other things that you want, the tweakings that a DSLR gives you. And of course, as you would have heard, I'm sure this is not the first video that you've come to. If you want to blow up into a big billboard and you need full clarity, in that case, I think most people will not even shoot with the Nikon. They would shoot with the Hasselblad, which is like a medium format camera. That's a different ballgame altogether, and I'm no expert on that. But they would shoot on a Hasselblad or some other medium format camera. But here is the rule about photography. The best camera that you have is the camera on you. And out of all these cameras, and I'll discuss the other two, and as I said, I try to keep it short, nothing beats the iPhone. I'm still using a 11 Pro Max. I think that's being shot on a 10. I haven't even switched to the 12 or the 13. Probably when the 14 comes, I'll invest in it. I'm pretty happy with this right now. Though my favorite iPhone of all time, which I still have in the drawer there, is the 7 Plus. So just like this had brilliant colors, the iPhone 7 Plus, I mean, I started iPhones with 3GS, 4S, 7 Plus. 7 Plus had color renditions and an ability to capture light and color so well that, yes, these iPhones capture and you can edit your pictures, obviously, which you should. I mean, if you want to get a little bit, different. I mean, unlike a Samsung, which I really haven't used, but it tends to give you very baked images. वो थोड़े से ज़्यादा bake हो जाते हैं, माने crispy. They look great on the phone, but when you post them or something, there's something wrong. So again, I'll come back to the iPhone. I can't tell you enough that if you are a photographer, if you're looking to do photography apart from, let's say, wedding or fashion, but if in any other photography that you're trying to do in general life, every day, the iPhone. There is nothing better than the iPhone. Take my word for it. 90% of my street work is on the iPhone. It is brilliant. But having said that, so there is the DSLR, the weighty DSLR, and there is the iPhone. So generally when I'm traveling or when I'm walking the streets, I generally have these two, but 90% of the time I can get rid of this and just keep this in my pocket. And it also allows you the ability as a street photographer that maybe you're typing a message and you can take a shot. Whereas in this, no matter what happens, you can of course go shoot by the hip, as they say, of click, 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 you've seen your moment, but generally you raise it to your eye and boom, take your shot. And also please don't feel ashamed about, a lot of these photographers will go manual. I know how to use manual. But the Nikon has a brilliant P mode, which you can shoot in. You should learn to shoot in manual. Obviously, I do. I know how to shoot in manual. I know how to utilize it. But on the street, I will use P. If I'm at night, I will go to this thing called the non-flash mode. Never use flash unless you really have to, but please don't use flash. As a street photographer, your photographs will turn out terrible, and that's not the way it should go. But they have a non-flash, and it's great for night situations or evening situations to get the correct exposure. But these are the two cameras that I had as a street travel landscape. I've gone everywhere from Ladakh to Zanskar to Yosemite in California to Shenandoah National Park to all the states of the US to the UK with just these two. And if I did not have this and I had my iPhone, I would be great. Now, having said that, for 10 years, maybe 12 years, these were my two main cameras, and I was looking for a camera in between. And I was thinking of several of them. A Leica would have been great, though I can't afford a Leica. But I was in California, in Palo Alto, staying with a friend, and he had this camera. One second, sorry. This is Fuji. Now, there is a lot of history to this camera, but what this is a rangefinder. So a rangefinder is, I take my shot this way. Now this is a mirrorless. In fact, when I bought it, I didn't know it was a mirrorless, but that's the newer technology. I'm not going to get into the technical details, but it's got a very silent shutter too. The only thing is it's got a fixed lens. A lot of purists, a lot of old timers, including my guru, Mr. Henri Cartier-Bresson, and all the people here from Dennis Stock to Diane Arbus, Vino Brand, Freelander, all of these people, Elliot Erwitt, great photographer. They all used a Leica with a 35mm lens, okay? So that was their mode of choice. They had a camera like this. Of course, it was a film camera. You had film behind. So I recently played with this. I fell in love with it. I've been using it. It's a great camera, and this is a camera which has serious fanboys on YouTube. The Fujifilm X100. This is the F. In fact, जब मैंने ये खरीदा था, when I bought this, sorry, the new one had come out, the V, but it was a touch screen. It didn't have the buttons, and I wanted the buttons, and I didn't want a touch screen. And I'd heard about some heating issues, and because I stay in India, I really didn't want the camera to kind of heat up in India, so I bought the F. And great camera. I've been using it. I really like it. There are also some problems with it that I find sometimes, but again, as I hold these three cameras, this I've been playing with now for 6-7 months. As I said, I love it. My Nikon is brilliant, does not fail. And all these three cameras at this point of time in my hand, I don't know whether it's capturing it, are all tentatively for the lakh. I mean, let's be honest, are all 1 lakh rupee cameras somewhere. An iPhone costs nearly a lakh if you go for the big iPhones. This was a lakh, and this with the lens setup could be a little bit more than a lakh, but because it's an old camera, I'll put it in the same range. That if you go for a entry level with a bigger lens, it'll come to around 40, 50, and if you go for a bigger lens, it'll come to more expensive. So out of these three cameras, yes, I love this. It's very easy to carry. It's very inconspicuous. It's very easy to take shots. I was in museums, and there were a lot of shots that I understood. It kind of opened up a new dimension of photography after 10, 12 years. And for 12 years nearly, I mean, whatever, 14 years that I've been shooting, these were my two babies. And I think sometimes as a photographer, I'm not a gearhead. I'm not much into yellow, volo, this camera, that camera. But when I played with this in California, I really, really fell in love with the ease and convenience, and just playing around with a new system of camera, learning about it. And now I use it quite often, but I still love my iPhone more. There's nothing better. It just gets the exposure right. इसमें कभी-कभी focus का issue होता है. It's got a fixed lens on it. You can't interchange the lens on this. There's no interchanging lens. Though it does have a lens magnification inside. Again, complicated topics I will not get into. If this video makes any sense to people and you have any question, please ask me in the comments, and I'll try and answer them, or probably I'll kind of get the courage to make another video sometime. So I'm going to put the Mama Mia Nikon. I would suggest, if you're going and if you really want to buy a camera, buy an entry level or a mid level. Please do not go for a full frame when you do not know photography. I've had friends who knew nothing about photography, who thought they'll be very cool and hipsters, and they want to shoot women and they want to be cool, and I'm a photographer, and no. If you really want to do photography, this is what you do. Start with the iPhone. Shoot, like I asked Cartier-Bresson, send your first 10,000 images, forget about them. They're nothing. Show me 20 to 50 good images shot on your iPhone, and then go and invest your money or your parents' money or whoever money into a DSLR. And if you really want to be cool and you want to be hipster and you want to kind of I'm looking so cool with this film looking camera, then you can go for this. But first, prove your worth with an iPhone is what I would say. After that, go into whatever. So DSLR, if you are really serious about photography, go for it. Once you've played with that for a couple of years, go with this. This will always be on you. Please do not mistake it. This is the most powerful camera. But as I said, I think this video is becoming very long. I don't even know whether my voice is getting recorded. So let me kind of come to the other one. This, my dear friends, is 35mm film. Nostalgia. A lot of photographers, especially in the US and now a lot of them in India, are going fully into film photography. And as I said, this, I mean, after 12 years of just being a Nikon and an iPhone, and the most important thing is your image. Don't worry about the camera. The camera is just a tool. You will hear this term again and again and again, and it will not make sense to you because there'll be 1,000 video creators selling different cameras, from Sonys to Canons to Nikons to Fujis to Leicas to whatever. and you're constantly bombarded with all this information. Make magic with the camera you have. But after 12 years, I played around with a lot of them. So this is a Nikon FE. I picked it up in the US. Before that, I picked up a Pentax, the FE, yes. I picked up a Pentax ME, played with it, loved it. I shot with a Canon. My very first Canon I bought was a Canon FTBQL. I don't have it here. I sold it to get this because I thought I'm a Nikon loyalist. I can't have a Canon camera, but that was a great camera. I shot, in fact, so just to tell you, so there are different films available. A lot of the American fanboys that you'll see will swear by Kodak Portra 400 and I know all this. My personal favorite was the Fujifilm. So I shot a lot of Fujifilm. I shot Kodak 200, Kodak Gold 400, Portra, couple of other films. Ilford, this is a black and white film that I shot. I think this is a UK based company, Ilford, and they make, but Fuji is what I like the colors for. You don't get these in India, so I got them from the US, though the guys at the airport scanned them, so I don't know how good these films are. But coming back to this, so this is true photography. There is no denying it because there is no automatic color. There you have to set up your exposure. And while I'm at it, let me once quickly, as I said, I'm not doing these cut-ins and cutouts. So I'm just going to kind of try to explain the very fundamental of photography to you in this video, which has become very, very long. And I don't even know whether it makes sense. Maybe I should not post it. But exposure is the basis of when you shoot manual. If you shoot it on automatic, the camera does the job for you, but you must know this. And I hope you all know what the term photography means. If not, I will explain it to you after this. So exposure is basically a triangle for light variables. So number one, I'll put it as shutter speed. Shutter speed. ISO. I think there's some other term for ISO also in the technical thing. And then of course your aperture. This is your exposure triangle. Your light, photography basically means, the word photography means painting with light. You're essentially painting with light. So it's an instrument to paint with light. So that was the Greek Latin term means. But your exposure triangle, which is your shutter speed, ISO and aperture. Shutter speed, ISO and aperture. These are videos, I'm sure there are far more better people who will explain it to you. Or I'll explain it on this because it's easier. So there is my aperture. Okay. So it's at 2. 1 second. My eyesight is a little weak nowadays, so I have to kind of. So 2 will be, let's say, this much. That much light is coming in. Then I go to 2.8. Okay. I generally like a 5.6. And if you go to 16 or 11, it's this much. So I can see sharpness all over. Okay. I don't think this is going to make sense now, so I'm just quickly going to wrap it up. ISO is in terms of 100, 200, 400, 800. These things you learn. It's light sensitivity, but in the old days in film, you had film sensitivity. So this will be 400. Again, I think too complicated to explain right now. I think most of you, if you're sat by this video till now, you'd have understood. And then there is shutter speed. So this has 4,000, 2,000. So it goes like, if it's 4,000, go click. You know, the shot will go clack. Okay. And if I go to, let's say, 15, 1 by 15th of a second, go clack. And then of course there are these things you can kind of figure out on your own and understand. But my final topic was, and I got lost with my own topics. As I said, not much of a videographer. So a lot of people swear by analog. I shot, I think maybe 6 rolls of film, and it was a brilliant learning experience, no doubt about it. But after the 6 rolls I shot, on the Pentax ME, which was an automatic, the Canon FTPQL, and this, I think I shot 2 rolls each, different, as I said, Kodak rolls, Fuji rolls, Ilford rolls, different kinds of films. It is great, it's a great thing, but it is still going through a digital process because you have to give it to a thing, they'll scan it. Unless you're developing it at home, hats off to you if you can do that. I really wanted to learn that, but I don't have the patience. I think today, just like when film, everybody swears by film digital, but then by now the video cameras can give you on post a filmic grain. You can do the same on Lightroom, or I'm not much of a Photoshop user, I use Lightroom more. But on your laptop, you can create n number of film simulations and get that look. A lot of purists will say, oh, film, and there's the feel of film. There is no doubt about it. Film has a quality. It gives you a learning curve as a photographer, which is essential. If you really want to invest in this, but it's a little money intensive, and in India not much. In the US they have very good labs and photo stores where you can get all this material, old cameras, play around. But as I said, I'm going to just quickly wrap this up because I've been going on for too much time now, and I don't even know whether I'm going to post this. But so I played with this camera, I loved it, I use it, yeah. And the reason I was actually going to make this video is because tomorrow, like, I've explored New York and all these other places so much, but tomorrow I'm going to Bombay, in my own city. I'm going to capture some buildings on a double-decker bus tour. There's some special heritage tour. So I was wondering which camera to pick, and it suddenly thought, why not make a video for somebody out there, if he's thinking about cameras. So I'll most likely take this along because it gives me a lot of range sitting on a double-decker, not only to get wide buildings, but maybe if I see a person, I can zoom in and out. And if nothing else, I always have this, the iPhone. And my iPhone has a wide thing, everything. I mean, I can go close, wide, exposures are brilliant. It's there instantly. I always, whenever I go to a special thing, I will carry a heavy duty camera with me. So these two are there. I could maybe carry this because there'll be a lot of light. It's pretty hot in Bombay, so I'll get great shots with this. But the less gear you have, the better it is. And at the end of this, all I would like to tell you is the most important thing is to take the photograph. The photograph that you see with your eye, in your head, and in your heart, that is the most important thing. The camera is secondary. What is primary is you taking that shot. So whether you want to do it with these two, whether you want to do it with this, or whether you want to do it with the camera on you, please take the shot. Do not worry about the gear. And the most important thing in photography is your eye. And if you want to improve your eye, please look at the great masters, Cartier-Bresson, Elliott Erwitt. I can make another video on that, and that depends on whether this video is seen by people. Most likely, I don't think anybody will see this video, but I've done my bit to kind of give back in whatever small format. I should learn how to kind of edit videos and put in things here and there, but I don't really have that inclination. So this has just been a one shot, one take of I don't know how long, but lots of love. Do let me know whether this was any sense. Probably not, but I still tried, and maybe I'll try again if this kind of helped you in some way. Don't worry about the camera. Take the shot. See you. Bye.